Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said his government is not looking to escalate a diplomatic row with New Delhi, but declined to say whether Canada would match India's decision to ask for the removal of 51 Canadian diplomats. Trudeau made the comments on his way into the Liberal caucus meeting in Orwa on Tuesday, hours after India told Canada that it must repatriate 41 diplomats by October 10, according to a story post published in the Financial Times earlier in the day. The newspaper, citing familiar people with the Indian demand, said India had threatened to revoke the diplomatic immunity of those diplomats told to leave who remained after October 10. Asked if his government would retaliate by asking India to remove diplomats based in Canada, Justin Trudeau insisted his government would try to keep working with New Delhi. Trudeau said, "We are not looking to escalate. I have said we are going to be doing the work that matters and continuing to have constructive relations with India throughout this extremely difficult time." Ties between India and Canada have deteriorated in recent weeks after Trudeau announced there were credible allegations of Indian involvement in the assassination of Khalisani separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar. 45-year-old Nijjar had been wanted by India for years and was gunned down outside Sari Gurdwara on June 18. India has dismissed the allegations as absurd. PM Trudeau said Canada's diplomatic relationship with India is going through an extremely challenging time and that the growing dispute between the two countries had made it important for us to have diplomats on the ground working with the Indian government there to support Canadians and Canadian families. The Prime Minister said that his government is taking diplomatic dispute extremely seriously and is going to continue to try and engage responsibly and constructively with India to sort it out. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said largely the same thing. Let's listen to her.
In moments of tensions, because indeed there are tensions between both our government, more than ever it's important that diplomats be on the ground. And that's why we believe in the importance of having a strong diplomatic footprint in India. That being said, we are in ongoing conversations with the Indian government and we will continue to protect them.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said he is very concerned about India's decision to ask for the removal of Canadian diplomats and his party will monitor the situation to protect Canadians here and abroad. Poilievre added that he would be speaking with Conservative MP Michael Chong, the party's foreign affairs critic, who the Conservative leader said is an expert on this. Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar said earlier there was a climate of violence and an atmosphere of intimidation against Indian diplomats in Canada, where the presence of 6 separatist groups has frustrated New Delhi. He said Trudeau's allegation was not consistent with our policy, and if his government had anything relevant and specific they would like us to look into, we are open to looking at it. That's where the conversation is at this time. Let's listen to what he said.
Yes, the Canadian Prime Minister made some allegations, initially privately and then publicly. And our response to him, both in private and public, were that what he was alleging was not consistent with our policy, and that if his government had anything relevant and specific they would like us to look into, we were open to looking at it. Now, that's where that conversation is at this point of time. But to understand that conversation, you have to also appreciate that this has been an issue of great friction for many years with Canada, in fact going back to the 1980s. Then it became dormant, but in the last few years it has come back very much into play because of what we consider to be a very permissive Canadian attitude towards terrorists, extremists, people who openly advocate violence. And they have been given operating space in Canada because of the compulsion.
Days after Trudeau's bombshell announcement, India warned its citizens to exercise caution when traveling to Canada, citing concerns about politically condoned hate crimes and violence. Soon after, it stopped processing visitor visas in Canada. At the same time, the High Commission of Canada said it was temporarily adjusting its staff's presence at its commission and consulate locations in India due to some diplomats having received threats on various social media platforms.